Hey there, and welcome. Have you ever heard English speakers say things like hang on, or turn up, or look into, and you're kind of left wondering what they mean? Well, those are called phrasal verbs. And yeah, they can seem a little tricky at first, but they are a huge part of everyday English. In this explainer, we're going to break them down and make them super simple to understand and really easy to use.
Okay, let's dive right in. Here's what we've got planned. First up, we'll figure out what a phrasal verb actually is. Then we're going to explore how one little phrasal verb can have two totally different meanings. After that, we'll look at when you should use them, formal versus informal situations. And to wrap it all up, I'm going to share a fantastic tip for your vocabulary notebook. All right, let's start with the absolute basics and get to the bottom of this. What exactly is a phrasal verb? So what is it that makes a regular verb phrasal? What's the secret ingredient here? Well, it's actually really simple. A phrasal verb is just a normal verb, like get or put, combined with a small word called a particle, like on, in, off, or up. But here's where the magic happens. When you put them together, they create a brand new meaning. And that meaning is often really different from the original verb. For example, give means to offer something, right? But give up means to quit. See, it's a completely new idea. And the best news is that most phrasal verbs are made from simple verbs you probably already know, like all the ones you see here. This means you've already got the building blocks to understand hundreds of them. You just need to learn the new meanings they create when they team up with a particle. Okay, let's move on to our next section. This is interesting. A single phrasal verb can often have two kinds of meaning. One is very physical and easy to picture. We call that concrete. And the other is more about ideas or feelings. We call that abstract. Let's use the phrasal verb look back as an example. Its concrete meaning is physical, literal. You can turn your head and literally look back to wave goodbye to someone. Simple enough. But its abstract meaning is all about memory. You can look back on your childhood, which just means to remember it. You're not physically looking anywhere, you're thinking. This whole idea of concrete versus abstract is a real game changer for understanding phrasal verbs. So let's check out a few more examples just to make sure it's all perfectly clear. Okay, let's break these down. First up, give in. The concrete meaning, you can give in your homework to a teacher. You're physically handing it to them. But the abstract meaning, if your parents finally give in, it means they stopped arguing and finally agree to something. Now, what about get on? Concretely, you get on a bus, you enter it. But abstractly, if two people don't get on, it means they just don't like each other. And finally, come round. Concretely, you can ask a friend to come round to your house for a visit. Abstractly, if someone was unconscious in the hospital, they come round when they wake up. See how the meanings can be worlds apart? Now that we get the different meanings, let's talk about when to actually use them. This section is all about picking the right word for the right situation. So here's the key thing to remember. Phrasal verbs are generally more informal. This means you're going to hear them and use them all the time in everyday conversations with friends, family, and colleagues. For more formal situations, like, say, academic writing or a big professional presentation, there's usually a single word synonym that's a better choice. For example, you might say, let's put off the meeting. That sounds super common and natural in a daily conversation. But in a more formal email or a report, you'd probably choose to write, let's postpone the meeting. They mean the exact same thing, but postpone just sounds a bit more official. And we see the same thing with take off. At a friend's house, you'll probably hear, please take off your shoes. But an official sign in a museum might say, please remove your shoes. See? The phrasal verb take off just feels a little more relaxed. And one more, just to really nail this down. Think about talking about a party. You'd probably say everyone turned up on time, which sounds perfectly natural. The more formal way to say that is arrive. Everyone arrived on time. Knowing this difference helps you choose the perfect word for any situation you're in. Okay, so we've learned a lot. But how can you possibly remember all of this? Well, our final section is going to give you a simple, practical tip to help you do just that. Here is a super simple way to organize this in your notebook. Whenever you learn a new phrasal verb, just follow these 3 steps. Step 1, write down the phrasal verb, like put off. Step 2, right next to it, write its more formal synonym, in this case, postpone. And step 3, just make a little note for yourself, something like more informal. This helps connect the new phrase to a word you might already know and reminds you exactly when to use it. Easy.
So let's wrap this all up. Why is this so important? Because phrasal verbs are absolutely everywhere in English. Understanding them isn't just about learning more words, it's about understanding how native speakers really talk in normal, everyday situations. And mastering them will make your English sound so much more natural and fluent.
So, from given to turn up, we've seen just how useful these little phrases are. And honestly, the best way to learn them is to use them. So, my question for you is, which new phrasal verb will you try to use today? Pick one, think of a sentence, and just give it a try. Thanks so much for watching.